degrees, so I went from 28 degrees to minus 29 degrees. It was cold. I'm not gonna say it wasn't cold. Like my nose, I felt like my nose was freezing up every time I went outside. Like as soon as I opened my mouth to talk, it was like I was swallowing ice. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tomilola, and this video is going to be kind of like part 2 on immigrating to Canada. I got a lot of positive feedback on the last video, so I thought I would do, you know, like how I settled into Canada, what to expect when you land. So this is kind of like after you've gotten your PR. Before I go forward, if you haven't like subscribed to my channel, please do so. I would appreciate it. Okay, so you guys know I love my list, right? So I've divided this video into 8 different parts. The first part is packing. I'm going to talk about immigration, when you land, getting into the system, opening your bank account and things like that, getting a job, the Canadian interview style. I'm going to talk about accommodation, getting a house, getting a place to stay, driving if you intend on driving out here, the cold, and I'm going to talk about food for anyone who is a foodie like me. So let's get into it. The first one is packing. When you're coming into Canada, you are allowed to bring as many stuff as you want. Legal stuff or legal stuff. You're allowed to bring as many stuff. Like you will not be charged like custom duties or, you know, tax or whatever for the stuff that you're bringing in. And even if, you know, obviously like most airlines have a weight restriction. I think it's like 23 to 32 kg depending on the airline that you're using. So if you have, if you cannot afford to pay for extra suitcases or, you know, extra weight stuff, you can actually ship a couple of your stuff and you still would not be taxed, as long as you have like a landing list. And when you get to immigration, when you land in Canada, you will give them a copy of this list, and they will not tax you for any of the stuff that you're bringing, as long as it's legal stuff and things that you're allowed to bring into the country. Every country has their rules on what you can bring and what you cannot bring. I think the general rule will have to be stuff like meat products, like animal products. Like you cannot pack shaki from Nigeria, but I don't know, don't take my word for it. But just look at what the airport allows you to bring in and like work with that. But you can bring as much stuff as you want without getting taxed for it. Next up is immigration. What happens when you actually get into the airport, when your plane lands? So for me, it went really smoothly. I landed in Calgary at obviously the international airport in Calgary, and like everything went by really smoothly. You just have to say that you're there for immigration. They take you pretty much to another side. You have to wait a little while, but it went by really fast. You wait a little while. You have like your COPR, your the paper that they would give you when you get your PR. You would know when you have your PR. They'll give you like a little paper that you have your passport on. They'll stamp one, and I think they'll give you back one. They will ask you for like an address, so if you want like your PR card. So if you already have an address, or you have like a friend's house somewhere you'll be staying, you give them your address, and then they'll send your PR card, I think within 6 weeks or about 2 months, I don't know. They'll send your PR card there. If you don't have an address, if you're new in Canada, you don't have any friends, don't have any family, that is still okay. You can always say, listen, I don't have, and when you finally do, you can contact like immigration and then give them your address. Now for your proof of funds, they didn't ask me for mine, but I know quite a number of people who they asked for their own proof of funds. So have your money ready, have your cash ready, have the documentation ready, just in case they ask you. But please, if they don't ask you, don't be like, listen, I have the money. I always have one rule for immigration: don't say too much. Like only stick to what you're being asked, whether you're going as a tourist to a new country or you are immigrating. Only answer the questions they asked you. Any other further explanation, you don't need that. But immigration will really go by smoothly as long as you have your COPL, you have your documentation, you are a permanent resident of Canada the minute your plane lands. It's not like you already like are there, like it's your rights, I think. So the third one is getting into the system. So once you have gotten into your hotel, or your accommodation, you have rested, you're feeling happy with your life, give it a couple of days. I think I went there the next day. You go to somewhere called Service Canada. When you get to Service Canada, you are going to apply for your social insurance number, your SIN, and you go there with your passport, your international passport. Then a copy of the paper they will give you at the airport, and then you go there, they give you your SI number. It's pretty quick, I think. It's like, it didn't take too long. I think it took about 5 to 10 minutes and stuff. You get that number. Honestly, you have to keep it safe. They always advise you not to write it down, keep it in your head, but that's really up to you. That number you're not supposed to share with anybody, like your friends. They don't need to know your number. It is private, it's important. It is literally the most important identification number you can have as a resident of Canada. So with your SIN number, you go to the bank, you open an account. When you get to the bank now, they might give you a credit card. And for a lot of Nigerians, we don't have credit cards. We don't use credit cards because nobody likes messy. But they might give you a credit card, take it. Your credit score is very important here. You need a credit score for everything. So take your credit card. I think depends on the bank. Some banks have like the maximum credit limit they'll give you as a new immigrant or someone who has no credit history is $1,000. Some banks will give you $2,000. I use RBC, and they gave me $2,000 as my credit limit. So use your credit card as often as you can, but obviously pay back. They say pay your minimum balance, but more pay back. Pay back if you can, but you definitely want to actually build a credit history here, because if you want to buy a house later on, you need it. Even sometimes to get a phone, your electricity, all of that stuff, you might need a credit score. And the more you use your credit card and pay back, the higher your credit score will be. So use your open your bank account. Don't worry, take your credit card, and then you would get a phone line as well. There are various like networks that you can use. Like I use Virgin Mobile, but people use different things. Hold on one second. Jared, what line do you use?
Fido.
So my boyfriend uses Fido. So there are like a bunch of like different like networks that you can use. It's just like Nigeria, there's Glo, there's Net, like you get like whatever like network. Is try and error. But the good thing about this country, a lot of times you can cancel your plan. There is no like, you start the plan, if you don't like it or the bill is too much, you can easily cancel and move on to another plan, as long as obviously you're not like on contract, I think. So you can either get contract or you can do pay as you go. I kind of like, I don't know if I'm on contract or pay as you go. I pay a prescribed bill every month, but I can cancel. Oh yeah, I'm on pay as you go. I can cancel at any point in time. I pay a prescribed bill every month. It's been agreed upon. However, sometimes I can go above what is stipulated in my bill, and I'll have to pay that as well. I don't pay for my phone is mine. So a lot of people here, if your phone isn't working properly, or you just want to upgrade your life, you can get like a contract situation whereby you're paying for your phone and obviously the network as well. So it's kind of like what you want to do, and the different ones. Like I said, I use Virgin Mobile. There's Fido, there's Telos. So choose the one that, make like an informed decision. Choose one that you feel like works for you, and stuff. Now, something I forgot to mention with opening your account is you can open a Canadian account, and you can open a US dollars account, because what happens is obviously no one's giving you Canadian dollars from Nigeria, right? So you come in here and you bring USD. So you can decide to convert some of your USD to Canadian dollars and open a Canadian account, and then decide to convert, like leave the rest in USD. You definitely need to convert to your Canadian dollars to be able to do your regular schmegular like shopping and everyday stuff. If you want to change money, I really wouldn't say use the bank, because the exchange rate is a little higher when you change money at the bank. So there's so many like shops in the mall and stuff like that that change money for you at a good rate. But obviously do your research, like whichever one's like cheaper, because at the end of the day, like I would assume that you want like a cheaper option, you know, and money is money. No one's gonna be like, how much do you change your own dollars? I did mine for this. Like no one cares. Like as long as you have the money, you have the money, right? Okay, so obviously when you come to Canada, you want to get a job. I kind of started applying for a job before I got into Canada. I think that's very important. You can also have, like, obviously Canada, a lot of Canadian companies doing like to employ people who are not resident here or who do not have a permanent resident, the PR card. So what I was doing when I was in Nigeria is I had like a different phone line. Like I pretty much had like a Canadian phone line. There's so many services that do that, whereby you can buy like a Canadian number or whatever country you want, put that on your resume and use that to apply for jobs. The service that I used was Dingtone. So while I was here, I actually had a phone interview. Well, while I was in Nigeria, actually, I had a phone interview. And I say do that because even if you don't get the job, it allows you to know what the Canadian style is, how they talk to you, how they interview you, because the style is a little different. So I'm first always going to your resume. Like Canadian style resume is like pretty much short. Like keep it short and simple. Like don't have like 5 pages or 4 pages. Like just keep it very short and simple. There's no need for your age on your resume. Nobody cares. There's no need for your gender. Unimportant. There's no need for obviously your birthday. Is honestly, no one's going to employ you because you're a Leo or you're a Cancer. You don't need to put that there. Your state of origin, all of that doesn't matter. What matters is your start and your end date for your previous work experience. And one thing that is very specific about, like, I don't know if it's like just specific about Canadian like resumes or just a bit different to Nigerian resumes, is that they care more about your skills, the skills that you acquired on the job, as opposed to specific details of what I did. Like, oh, I was writing this, what skills did you acquire while you were on that job? Skill acquisition is more important than these are the details of what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? So on your resume, focus more on the skills that you acquired on your previous job. Now for the interview style, a lot of Canadian interviews start with a phone interview. Now this was even before COVID. Like they'll first of all like call you on the phone before like they kind of like move to a face-to-face interview. So they call you on the phone and have a conversation with you, kind of get to know you a little bit. So when they say tell me all about yourself, it's very Nigerian to be like, I come from a family of 5, my mother. That's not what they want to know. Please like keep it to your professional life. Nobody is interested in the family you come from or what your mother and your father do, you know. So keep it to your professional life. Maybe start off with, you know, oh, I acquired an undergraduate degree in law from the University of Bradford, like, you know, stuff like that. And then you give them like a quick transition from point A to where you are right now, the starting point or the relevant starting point to where you are right now. So for example, like I started my career at a fashion magazine. So if I'm going for like a law interview, I'm not going to be like, I started my career at a fashion magazine. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. It's not relevant to what the job is. So you work from the relevant start point to where you are right now. And I always like to, you know, when I do the whole like tell me about yourself, tell me a little bit about yourself, I like to kind of start from the relevant start point, work my way to where I am right now, and kind of answer the question of why I want to work with the company. Tell a story about your work experience. Pretty much that's what they want, not your family life. A lot of interview questions in Canadian interviews are very behavioral and less technical, because when you're having a technical interview, they kind of tell you you're having a technical interview. Most of it is just like, tell me about the time where you had to work with a difficult co-worker. Tell me about the time where you had to deal with the non-satisfied customer, you know. And in those situations, you usually use the STAR approach: the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So the situation at hand, the task, what you were supposed to do; the action, what you actually did; and then the result. So that always works. And always try to like be very specific, like actually pick a situation. Don't be like, in my last job there are times when a customer would be upset. It's like, there was a time where I had like a particular customer. Like, be very specific in your answers, give examples. So behavioral questions, you have to prepare for behavioral questions. When you're having a technical interview, they will tell you. But one thing I've noticed with a lot of like Canadian companies, that they will teach you on the job. Like, a lot of stuff they will teach you on the job, because a lot of the softwares and stuff that they use, oftentimes you're not familiar with it, so they will have to teach you on how that works. So don't fret. So focus more on your skills and work on answering behavioral questions. One more thing that I always recommend after an interview is to send an email to thank them afterwards. Usually you can find the email of the person that interviewed you if they sent you an email, picking a time or date, or you can find them via LinkedIn. But I always try to send like a thank you afterward. Another important thing is accommodation, finding somewhere to live. So I'm not gonna lie, rent is very expensive in Canada. Cost is cost. Like, it's expensive. Depending on where you live, obviously it could be cheaper or like, more expensive. If you live in like some provinces are just more expensive than others. So if you live in Ontario, rent is definitely more expensive generally in Ontario. Or you live in British Columbia, rent is generally more expensive. If you are in Saskatchewan, rent is significantly cheaper, or like Manitoba. So it's kind of like varies from provinces to provinces. For rent, on a general note, I find expensive, and rent is paid here monthly as opposed to annually. It's not like Nigeria where you give your landlord 2.5 million naira and you go and enjoy it till next year. You pay your rent every month here. Because rent is expensive here, if you can get a roommate, get a roommate. But if you can't, or you don't just like to share with people, or stuff like that, or you can't find anyone that you would want to share your space with, and that's okay. You can get a basement suite. Basement suites are cheaper, but they're cold. So if you live in a very cold city, it's gonna get significantly colder when winter comes in a basement suite, and you can hear everything that is going on upstairs. There is no natural light. I generally don't like basement suites, but if you cannot afford anything else and basement suite is all that you've got, by all means, like, rent one. One thing you don't want to do in this country is to live above your means. So if a basement suite is what you can get, that is fine. Generally leases are for like a year, although you can find stuff for like 6 months or less. But if you're trying to get like a nice place, they're gonna need like a year for your lease. And you can't just break your lease because you're tired. Like, you can't just be like, I found another place that I'm going to move. They'll charge you for it. So you gotta check carefully before you sign a lease agreement here, and also check like what you can and what you cannot do. If you like pets, some accommodations do not like, there's not one pets in the building or whatever, so you gotta check. Or some accommodations allow pets, but like to like a certain max. Like, I think my building is £25 and below. Furnishing your apartment, let me tell you something. I don't think this is particular to Canada, but it's something that I didn't know as an adult. Furniture is very expensive. Like, furniture is actually very expensive. Like, it's just table and chair, but these things are actually super expensive. So in order for you to save money, Facebook Marketplace is the place to go for furniture. I got my bed frame on Facebook Marketplace, which ordinarily would be about $300, but I got it for $80 here. Facebook Marketplace, a lot of stuff in my house I got from Facebook Marketplace. Like, I'm looking at my house right now. I'm looking at like my center table. Like, I got it from Facebook Marketplace for about $20. One thing I wouldn't advise though to get from Facebook Marketplace is things like mattress, because bed bugs and like insects and stuff like that. So things like mattress I wouldn't get. Things that insects can stick on, I wouldn't get from basic marketplace. But obviously, like, if that's what you can afford, like, please go for it. When you contact a seller on Facebook Marketplace, negotiate. Like, if they put $50 there for something, be like, can you take like 30, or like, negotiate with them. A lot of them will tell you to come and pick up, but you can ask them if they could deliver for a little extra. This is primarily important if you don't drive and if you're trying to buy something that is actually kind of big. You can ask them like if they can deliver, or if it's something that can be like collapsed, you can ask them to kind of like collapse it for you. Like if it's like a table, tell them to take off the legs, stuff like that, make your life a lot easier. But I promise you, Facebook Marketplace, you can find some really good stuff. You can also check online for sales and stuff like that. And the thing with furnishing your house is just buy the stuff that you need at first, and then as time goes on, you can start buying other stuff. When I first moved into my house, I only had like a bed, like a mattress, bed frame, and then as time went on, I was there getting like a sofa, like I started getting plants, I started getting like a workspace area. So just do it bit by bit. Like, don't kill yourself, it's just never that deep. Like, you don't want to go broke here. Okay, so driving. So there are some provinces that don't have good transport system, or if you're a family, then you most likely need a car. I don't have a car here, and I don't particularly need one because I live near the transit system, and the transportation in my like province is super good, especially like in my city. It's really good, so I just take the train everywhere or the bus. But if you want to get a car, if you want to drive here, please note that if you were driving in Nigeria, it would be a lot easier for you. Get your driver's license, and also if you can, get a letter from FRSC talking about your driving experience, pretty much just satisfying that you are a good driver, you have no points on your license, you're a good girl. That should be easy to get. Different provinces have different rules. Some provinces, will be like, once you have that letter, it kind of fast tracks things for you, but you have to take like a written exam first. There's no way to bypass that one. You take that written exam, but the level of the license that they give you would differ. You would not have a learner's permit. You would go straight to like a regular driver's license because you were driving in Nigeria. If you weren't driving in Nigeria, that's okay, that's all right. Come and start here. Something that everyone is worried about when you say you're moving to Canada is the cold. People are like, it is so cold there, blah 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 blah. And the truth is that it is cold. It is cold. But one thing I've learned is the human body adapts. So I landed in Calgary, and the day I landed it was minus 29 degrees, and I left Lagos when it was about 28 degrees. So I went from 28 degrees to minus 29 degrees. It was cold. I'm not gonna say it wasn't cold. Like I felt like my nose was freezing up every time I went outside. Like as soon as I opened my mouth to talk, it was like I was swallowing ice. But like in a couple of days, like your body adjusts to it, so it is doable. I currently live in a warmer city. So when it gets cold, it's not like Newfoundland or like one of those other places that gets super cold, but it's still significantly cold. Invest in a good winter jacket. You don't need Canada Goose. Like when I was coming here, I googled winter jackets Canada, and everything was Canada Goose. That thing, number one, is expensive. Number two, is ugly. Like you don't need it. You can get cheaper winter coats that are not that expensive. The trick to keeping warm in winter is to layer up. Like you cannot, it's very lazy of you to wear t-shirt and expect to wear jacket and you'll be fine. Like layer up. There's thermal wear, you can buy that for like cheap. So just invest in like your jumpers or your sweaters, as you guys call it, and invest in a good winter jacket. You can get a good winter jacket for cheap. Like if you don't really have money, you can get one, I feel like, for $100. If you have a little to splurge, you can get one for $300 and below. I think my favorite winter jacket is about $200 and something, and I swear it's so good. But yeah, like Canada Goose, unless you just want to feel cool, that thing is not worth it. Lastly, I want to talk about food. Now, if you are the kind of person who loves your Nigerian food, there are African stores all around the place, so you can always like just type in African store on Google Maps and it'll tell you. I think in my city there are about 3. So they'll sell like the things that you want to buy. I don't know what you like to eat, like your I really don't know. Like, I eat regular food. Most of my food can be bought in Walmart. I think I go to the African store to top up on my spices, but like Walmart sells plantain. So a lot of stuff that I want I can buy at Walmart. Atarudo is called habaneros here, and they sell it at Walmart, so it's pretty like food is easy to get, like in terms of like your Nigerian food. Although one time I was looking for yam, there was no yam anywhere, but that was just one time. Also, something to mention, I feel like groceries are very expensive in Canada. I don't know why, but every time I go to the grocery store, I'm budgeting like $100 at very least, especially when I'm trying to buy like stock up. And I cannot imagine spending, like when I was in England, £100 on groceries. Like, what am I eating? So I generally feel like groceries are very expensive here. But again, everything is doable. Like, it's definitely doable. So I hope that was insightful. I hope that you learned a thing or two. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I usually like answer within like 24 to 48 hours. So I'll respond to you there. You can follow me on Instagram. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I will try to do more of life in Canada, because I know that that's something that like you guys really like care about, and just to show you like how living here and how immigrating is here. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a good week or weekend, whichever day you watch this. Bye.